Yo, Amateur Lore here, and we're back with another video, once again taking a look at some of the worst college football teams historically, and the rare times they would flip the script and actually dominate the college football world. Before we jump into the video, I just need to say, I've been in such a great mood since Billy Napier got fired. I have never in my life been in a relationship more toxic than the one I had with Coach Napier. I feel like a heavy weight has been lifted off my chest. I can finally breathe. Now please, Florida, just don't F up and hire James Franklin as Napier's replacement. Anyway, leave a like and a sub if you enjoy the content. Now let's jump right into the video. Alright, to begin this video, we're starting with the Pony Express. So let's head over to the Big D. Whoa, that sounded crazy. Let me redo that real quick. So we're starting this video with the Pony Express. So let's head over to Dallas to talk about the SMU Mustangs and one of their best seasons in program history. So I have to get this out of the way right now because every video I make like this, there is always so many comments of people saying this team and that team wasn't historically bad, etc. So let's start this entry off by discussing why SMU is a historically bad college football program. In the Mustangs' 107 years of playing college ball, they sit with an all-time record of 541, 558, and 54, which translates into a winning percentage of about 492. That winning percentage puts the SMU Mustangs at the 101st spot out of 134 schools. If that's not enough, let's take a look at something a little more recent. From the year 1990, which was when the death penalty was lifted from the SMU program, until 2018, right before the Mustangs would start to turn up again, SMU would only have 5 winning seasons in that 28-year stretch. And when I say winning seasons, I mean they were able to go 1 game above 500, maybe 2 if they got lucky. Hopefully that helps you get an idea of why I decided to throw them into this video. So now let's go to the 2024 college football season and take a look at the 2024 SMU Mustangs. 2024 was a pretty big season for the Mustangs, as it was their first season joining the ACC, coming from the American Athletic Conference. SMU had really started to find their grooves in the American, being one of the more dominant teams in the conference, having 2 10-win seasons in the previous 5 years before 2024. As a matter of fact, the Mustangs were literally coming off an historical season in 2023, winning 11 games, which would tie with their 1984 squad for the most wins in a single season. That was in the American Athletic Conference, though. How would they fare being in a conference with juggernaut college football programs such as Clemson, Miami, and Florida State? Well, according to the media over at ACC.com, they were expecting the Mustangs to be a middle-of-the-pack type of football team in the ACC, having them predicted to finish 7th in the conference. Maybe winning about 7 to 8 games, but definitely not cracking the double-digit win mark again like they did in 2023. Well, don't take that information too seriously, because we have to remember, these are the same men and women who expected Florida State to win the ACC this year. They went 2-10. With all that out of the way, let's now take a look at some of the foals making noise around the Dallas area. Leading the program in his 3rd season up to that point at head coach, we have Rhett Lashlee, who had this Mustang offense running like, well, a Mustang, averaging 36.5 points per game, which was best for 8th in the nation, as well as in his first year in the ACC going undefeated in conference play. Those are some pretty big feats right there. The man he trusted to run the show at QB was Kevin Jennings, passing for 3,245 yards with 23 touchdowns. He was a dual-threat quarterback, also doing some damage on the ground, rushing for 354 yards with 5 touchdowns. Kevin Jennings went off on the ground, but this team's go-to guy when it came to pounding the rock was running back Brashard Smith, who'd eat up opposing defenses all year, rushing for 1,332 yards with 14 touchdowns, averaging about 5.7 yards a touch. Nasty. And finally, to round out the key offensive player, the team's leader in receiving yards, Roderick Daniels Jr., who'd catch 42 passes for 663 yards with 7 total touchdowns. To open up the 2024 college football season, the SMU Mustangs would find themselves in a dogfight against Nevada. The offense was so inconsistent in this game that the Mustangs would actually be down by 2 scores early into the 4th quarter. Although it would take nearly the entire game, they would finally get going, putting together a couple of scoring drives to take the lead and would hold on to that lead for good, winning 29-24. A win is a win, but things needed to change or SMU might be at risk of getting destroyed when ACC play came around. And change is exactly what they would do, switching things up at quarterback, going from Preston Stone to Kevin Jennings. I was looking for reasons the switch happened, and from what I could find, I guess it had to do with Rhett Lashlee feeling that the offense would have a better chance of succeeding with a dual-threat quarterback under center. He might have been onto something, as SMU would blow out their next opponent, winning 59-7 against Houston Christian. But let's all be real. We wouldn't know if the change at quarterback worked until we saw them play against real competition. And lucky for us, and I guess SMU as well, their next game was going to be a non-conference match versus a solid BYU Cougars football team. This BYU team was no joke, climbing to as high as the 7th spot this season. How would the new starting quarterback Kevin Jennings fare in this big-time non-conference game?
Kenu Hill to the end zone, juggled and caught for a touchdown. Matava Tase. Merrill into the motion man. Jennings fakes the throw, stays on his feet. They got their blocker. Bigger back, LJ Johnson in there. Off the bootleg, throw to the end zone, off the hands of the intended goal here. Colin Rogers' kick is up and good. Clear, a career high. And Rogers splits the uprights since limping off the field.
That one-on-one coverage up top.
This is Retzlaff. He'll throw. He's got his tight end, Tase, who handoff. Touchdown. Enoch Knox. Davis motions out. They're looking for Hill, and he makes the catch. Hadn't done it since Pop Warner. Jennings off play action. Into coverage. Intercepted. Retzlaff. Intercepted. Jared Harrison Hunt. Pinned a few times. They've managed. This is Brashard Smith off the direct snap. And he gets it all the way out to about the 7. Lost the field.
The ball was loose prior to being down. Recovered by BYU. First down.
More time.
He's hit from 53, 52, 38, and 28.
And you have a false start, I think, here.
Retzlaff pitches to Davis. Has the corner. First down and more. Miles Davis, the Jazzman. And BYU back on.
This is why he loves this game so much.
The BYU faithful that are here making noise. Jennings dancing, improvising, deep downfield, incomplete. And BYU's defense makes another stand.
SMU would fall to the BYU Cougars 18-15. Quarterback Kevin Jennings would not play his best ball during this game, going 15 of 32 for only 140 yards while also throwing an interception. The Mustangs would have plenty of opportunities to put more points on the board, but instead they would settle for field goals. All of their points were scored from field goals. If they could have just extended some of those drives and exchanged a couple of those field goals for 6, they might have been able to pull off this win. Their defense played pretty solid, only giving up 336 yards and forcing 3 turnovers. Tough loss, but since this was only week 3 of the college football season, and 2024 was the first year of the 12-team playoffs, the Mustangs would still have plenty of time to turn their season around, but it was all going to start with their quarterback Kevin Jennings. Also, before we move on, something that was really cool about this game was both teams came in unranked but would finish the season in the top 15. So while early into the year this loss might have looked bad, in all reality, if there was any team SMU could afford to lose to, it was this BYU football team. Now 2-1 on the season, and questions swirling around the quarterback position, the Mustangs were in desperate need of a nice bounce-back win, and that's exactly what they would get in their next match the following week against TCU, winning 66-42. Kevin Jennings played much better, passing for 137 yards, rushing for 41, with 2 touchdowns and no interceptions. But the MVP of this game had to be running back Brashard Smith, as he would tear the Horned Frog defense up, rushing for 127 yards with 4 total touchdowns. I think this game really gave Kevin Jennings a confidence boost, because he would play his best game of the season so far versus the Florida State Seminoles, passing for 254 yards with 3 touchdowns and a blowout victory over the ACC preseason favorites Florida State, winning 42-16. Now to be fair, everyone this year was putting belt to ass on the Seminoles, but it's still a good win and well needed, especially for Kevin Jennings, because confidence is half the job when it comes to playing QB at a high level. The SMU Mustangs had bounced back from their loss to the BYU Cougars they suffered a couple of weeks ago, riding a 2-game winning streak, sitting with a record of 4-1 on the season. They had gotten their season back on track somewhat, with the key game versus 22nd ranked Louisville Cardinals right around the corner. In the last 2 wins for the Mustangs, they were able to blow out their competition. That wouldn't be the case against Louisville. SMU was going to have to travel on the road and play in a tight, hard-fought football game. Kevin Jennings and this offense needed to be on point if they wanted to leave Louisville with a W in the victory column.
We're starting the day in the ACC between SMU and number 22 Louisville, 2 of the top 20 scoring offenses. Ponies took the football. They want their offense out there. And Brashard Smith is one of the return men back, as this will sail through the back of the end zone.
2 weeks before signing day, ended up committed to Rhett Lashley, 10 miles from where he grew up.
Gets them off to a hot start. Choke plays could be. Roderick Daniels, touchdown. Now in the slot right. Shuck on 3rd down and 8. Takes a shot down the left sideline. Lions burst to the 5-yard line. Shuck well protected. Now extending the play. Floats one. Inside. Touchdown. Quarterback run. Jennings into the secondary. Inside the 5. Timing play. Front left corner of the end zone. Keyshawn Smith. Touchdown. He's back in the deep middle of the field. The seas part. And there goes Jennings. No one home on 3rd down and 2. Touchdown.
This season.
Brown finds a crease. Home run speed. He's got it. Into the red zone. Those schools starting to play well. Who knows? SMU may be worthy. Rodgers is 2 for 2.
Passing game.
4-man rush. And it flushes Shuck out of the pocket. He's got one-on-one. Breaking free is Brooks. Ja'Cory Brooks. Touchdown. Right up the gut goes Brashard Smith. Dragging tacklers. The ball pops out. Was he down? Louisville's got a fumble recovery at the 5-yard line.
220-pound LJ Johnson.
And there he's got the ball. He's at the goal line and he's in for the touchdown. Rather than punting and going and playing defense, they're going to try on 4th and 1. Shuck wide open. An easy pitch and catch. Not only is it a 4th and 1 hookup, it's a big play. Mark Redmond. There's certainly enough time to still get the ball back. Let's see what happens on 4th down. Shuck is going to put it up in the end zone, and it is intercepted.
A one-score game on the side of SMU at the current moment.
Keyshawn Smith across the 50-yard line picks up a first.
To see some new people kind of rise up and jump on the...
If any SMU fans are worried about the switch made at quarterback, I think this game against the 22nd ranked Louisville Cardinals put all of that to rest. Kevin Jennings and the entire SMU offense put together one hell of a performance versus Louisville, totaling 481 yards while playing a clean game, not turning the ball over. Quarterback Kevin Jennings finally showed off why Rhett Lashley decided to name him the starter, as he would make huge plays all game long, passing for 281 yards and rushing for another 113, with 1 touchdown, playing a humongous part in the Mustangs' 34-27 upset victory over the 22nd ranked Louisville Cardinals. The win over Louisville would bring the SMU Mustangs record on the season to 5-1, and their rankings would move up to the 21st spot, cracking the top 25 for the first time this season. One of my favorite sayings when it comes to sports is that the ball is energy. And earlier in the season when the Mustangs had no offensive identity and there wasn't too much high vibration in the locker room, the football just wasn't bouncing their way. But now after winning 3 games in a row, scoring 34 points or more in each of those wins, you could just see the positive energy radiating from this SMU football team. And they would keep the vibes high, traveling to Stanford and beating the brakes off the Cardinals, winning 40-10. At one point, the offense was a weakness of this team, and now you could argue it was one of their strengths, erupting for 501 total yards, as well as dropping 31 of their 40 points before halftime. It seems like after each and every game, quarterback Kevin Jennings would show some level of small improvement, this time doing majority of his damage from the pocket, passing for 332 yards with 3 touchdowns. While he ate through the air, the Mustangs defense would put Stanford in a box, holding them to 10 points with only 206 yards and 2 turnovers. They completely shut down the Cardinal running game, keeping them under 34 total rushing yards on the night. Overall, a great win that would put the 6-1 SMU Mustangs one step closer to making the ACC title game and potentially sneaking their way into the 12-team playoffs. Since they only had 1 loss on the season and it came in a non-conference game, SMU was sitting in an amazing spot in the ACC standings. And if they could survive their next little stretch of ACC play, where they would have to travel to 6-1 Duke, then come back home against the 18th ranked 7-0 Pittsburgh Panthers, and then finally Boston College, they would be a virtual lock to make the ACC title game. Of course, that is all wishful thinking though. At the point of the season we were in, SMU would need to focus on getting the job done during this stretch, as those first 2 games versus Duke and Pittsburgh on paper were going to be tough matchups that SMU couldn't afford to slip up in. And with them being ranked, you know each and every team on this 3-game stretch was going to give the Mustangs everything they could handle. Could they get the job done and go perfect? Let's find out.
So, off to a good start with this offense.
Pressure coming. Murphy going to take the shot. Here's Brown on a blur. Caught it. Touchdown, Duke. Brashard Smith, tail of the eye. There's a pitch to the far side. Foot race. Stinson hems up Smith. Took a shot. Falls into the end zone. SMU touchdown. Jennings up in the pocket, downfield, and that is Daniels wide open. There'll be no play at the pylon this time. Roderick Daniels scores. And they're going to hand to Thomas. And Duke has got a touchdown. 2nd down 4. And Jennings on a busted play, fumbled the ball. It's picked up. Here goes Nicholas, and he's tackled inside the... Kick is blocked. And SMU falls on it, and we're going to overtime. The play clock. Snap to Jennings. Here goes Brashard Smith. 10-5, SMU in front first. 24-yard touchdown run. Backfield. Murphy to throw. For the end zone, that's Pancol. Touchdown, Duke. Pancol to the boundary at the left. Here's Murphy. Buying time to his right. Throws and incomplete. No flags. SMU wins.
First and goal for the Mustangs. Johnson straight ahead. Goal. SMU from its 29 with an 11-point lead, and Brashard Smith midfield, and it's a foot race. Smith to the 25, the 10, touchdown.
Ryland Gandy.
And here goes Brashard Smith, touchdown. Jennings on the play fake, slides it upfield. Matthew Hittner off to the races. Hittner at the 30, full speed, and the big tight end goes 75. It's a pony.
How it's been playing over the past couple of weeks.
Jennings slips one out of the end. Roderick Daniels makes a man miss. Fights his way to the pylon. Brashard Smith, touchdown. Made that. Minute 8 to go in the half. Here comes an all-out blitz. There's a seam shot. Morales into the end zone. They bunch the receivers. Quarterback keeper for James. He makes a move to the pylon. Touchdown.
Kind of guy, an Alvin Kamara type of running back, and he is taken to that role.
In stride and into the end zone.
A lot of things that could go wrong in this situation too.
Jet sweep again. And it's spinning into the end zone. Keyshawn Smith scores the touchdown. Oh, that's the best case scenario for the Pony.
It wasn't all glitters and rainbows, but the SMU Mustangs would survive this 3-game stretch of ACC play going 3-0, with some of those wins being way easier than others. Starting off with the first game during this stretch, which also just happened to be the toughest, SMU would get the win against Duke 28-27 in overtime. Where do we begin with this absolute gem of a football game? Well, the first thing I have to say is SMU for sure did nearly everything in their power to lose this football game, turning the ball over 6 times to Duke 0. I don't know how Duke wasn't able to score more points, especially in the fourth quarter when the Mustangs would commit 3 of their 6 turnovers. Okay, I lied. I do know why they were not able to score more points. One, the SMU defense would bend all game but never break, always having their offenses back whenever they turned the ball over. And 2, the Duke field goal kicker just wasn't on his game, missing a 42-yarder and having his other kick blocked. That block must have been heartbreaking because Duke would have won the game if they made that field goal. Overtime was looking like it wouldn't be enough as both teams would score on their opening drives, except Duke decided to roll the dice and go for the win on a 2-point conversion. Maybe it was a pass interference, maybe it wasn't. All I know is that the ref didn't call it, and as a result, SMU would survive the scare in Durham, North Carolina, winning 28-27. Now, just as a quick reminder, this Duke football team in 2024 was no joke, as they would reach the 9-win mark. So while this was for sure an ugly win for the Mustangs, at the end of the day, they shouldn't dwell on it for too long, because it could be worse. They could have lost that game like they were supposed to, but instead the college football Lord of Cinders blessed them, keeping them perfect in ACC play. Okay, after that scare from Duke, SMU would take their blessings and capitalize on them, destroying 18th ranked Pitt 48-25, which that score is definitely misleading because SMU was up 48-11 with about 9 minutes left in the fourth. Most of the Panthers' points were scored in garbage time. There's really no other way to put it. The Mustangs dominated this ballgame, led by a 306 passing yard, 2-touchdown night from Kevin Jennings, as well as running back Brashard Smith going off rushing for 161 yards with 2 touchdowns. Finally, to end this 3-game stretch of ACC play, SMU would take down Boston College 38-28, in a game that was back and forth the whole entire way, with neither team being really able to assert their dominance on one another. There was actually a point in this game where the Mustangs trailed the Eagles 21-20 early into the third quarter, and it looked like maybe the momentum had shifted into Boston College's favor. But as quick as Boston College would take the lead, no sooner would SMU respond, railing off 10 straight points to once again be in control of this game somewhat. With SMU in front, their defense would do the rest, turning Boston College over on downs not once but twice, putting an end to 2 really promising drives that would ultimately lead to the win for SMU. Closing out this stretch of conference play with the Mustangs sitting at a record on the season of 9-1 and a ranking at the very lucky 13th spot. With only 2 non-conference games remaining on their schedule, if SMU could split those games, they'd be a lock for the ACC title game and one step closer to potentially doing the unthinkable and making the 12-team college football playoffs. Well, the Mustangs would actually do better, winning both of their final 2 games on the season against Virginia 33-7 and Cal 38-6. The stage was set. The 11-1 8th-ranked SMU Mustangs would be matching up against the 17th-ranked Clemson Tigers in the ACC championship game. I have no clue why, because if you ask me, the SMU Mustangs had played a pretty decent schedule and showed that they were deserving to be a playoff team. But around this time last year, I can vividly remember there being a lot of chatter that if SMU didn't play their best ball against Clemson in the title game, then they might get left out. Which sounds crazy, but one of the realities of college football is that if you're not a big-time brand, the playoff committee will do anything they can to give your spot to a team like Bama or Miami. So if I'm being real, I think the SMU football team around this time had to know they were in a position where a bad performance could potentially ruin this great season, keeping them out of the college football playoffs. Regardless, what more could you ask for as a SMU fan/player? You're in the ACC title game in your first year joining the conference with the chance to plant your flag on the moon, known as the college football playoffs. Many teams have tried but failed to make a playoff run. Clemson vs. SMU would decide whether or not the Mustangs' 2024 campaign would be successful or not.
Robert Gunn is the kickoff man. It's almost always a touchback when he kicks off, and this one will be as well. defensive end. He's 295 pounds. Looked like a design quarterback draw. Instead, it's a pass and a touchdown.
Down as well and contributed.
Klubnik, quick throw down to the goal line. Touchdown, Jake Brenningston.
As Sammy Brown.
Design run for Jennings. He has a hole down the sideline and into the end zone. Almost a straight line of Mustangs across the line of scrimmage. Then several drop out. Down the seam, Wesco breaks free and scores. Conference title game last year against Tulane led him to a win in New Orleans. Has a man open, and it is caught to get back in the game. He has his receiver open after the fake touchdown. Huge play here, 3rd and goal. They bring pressure. Touchdown, Jake Brenningston. Here's a reverse. It's a flea flicker. Jennings throws. Tight end Hibner is open. He stumbles down. Probably wasn't going to reach the end zone, particularly lately. Jennings on 3rd down. Back shoulder Hibner. Touchdown, SMU.
Outlet.
Jennings slides down. Bounces right back. And he does. Play clock going all the way down. Enormous 3rd down and 7. Klubnik rolling out. Will he run for the line? He throws! And it's almost intercepted by Ahmad Moses, who's really emerged. Jennings pulls it down. Jennings throws. Hibner caught it. Out of bounds with a first. Not much pressure. Jennings, side of the end zone. Touchdown! Roderick Daniels Jr. Receivers. 4-man rush. Klubnik throws. Caught. Antonio Williams dives down. 56-yarder. The win really not a factor. Snap and hold are good. That one is good! At the buzzer! Clemson wins the ACC.
Wow, what a game between SMU and Clemson in the ACC championship. Sadly though, the SMU Mustangs would fall just short 34-31 to the 17th ranked Clemson Tigers. SMU really tried their best to climb their way back into this game after the Tigers would come out on fire, going up 21-7 in the first and closing out the first half up 24-7. The entire first half was all Clemson, but the second would be an entirely different story, with the Mustangs offense finally putting scoring drives together and moving the ball with a purpose, tying the game at 31-all with less than 16 seconds remaining in the game. Unfortunately, a monster kickoff return and a quick strike would set Clemson up in field goal range, where their kicker would nail the game winner as time expired, handing SMU the 34-31 loss. Any other season before 2024, the first year of the 12-team playoffs, this loss would have been detrimental to the SMU Mustangs, as they would have not only been eliminated from playoff contention, but their chances at playing in a New Year's Six bowl game would probably be going out of the window as well. However, this year things were different. Since 12 teams made the college football playoffs, SMU would have to just hope and pray that their performance in the ACC title game impressed the playoff committee enough for them to give the Mustangs one of the few at-large spots. Back when this was happening, live, I was almost positive the committee was going to find a way to either sneak South Carolina or Alabama in above the Mustangs. But for the betterment of the rest of the college football world, they would put SMU in at the 11th spot, which was pretty much the very last spot. I know Clemson would be seated at the 12th spot, but they won their conference, so they had an auto bid. Regardless, it was stamped. The SMU Mustangs, who came into the season pegged as a team who'd win 7 to 8 games at the most, was in the college football playoffs with the day on the road against the 6-seeded Penn State Nittany Lions. Okay, so I was going to show this game's highlights, but I wanted to end this section on a positive note, and there was nothing positive to take away from the Penn State vs. SMU football game. Because to be James Franklin, the Mustangs would get demolished, losing 38-10. The score going into halftime was 28-0, and it was just a game I'm sure SMU wishes they could do all over again. While losing that way to end the season is never fun, let's look at the bright side of this 2024 college football season for SMU. They broke program records and did something even my favorite college football team, the Florida Gators, have never been able to do, and that's make the playoffs, and they did it in their first year in a new conference. So all in all, 2024 is without a doubt one of the best seasons in program history for the SMU Mustangs, even though it ended in heartbreak. Leaving Texas, let's head over to Winston-Salem, North Carolina to talk about our next historically terrible college football team that shocked the college football world, the 2006 Wake Forest Demon Deacons. This 2006 Wake Forest football team could have been in a bunch of other videos I make. One that I think would have been a good fit besides this video, of course, is my series where I take a look at some of the weirdest conference title winners in college football history. But I decided to toss them into this video with SMU because this 2006 Demon Deacon squad might be their best team in program history. Alright, so I don't think I have to spend too long on why Wake Forest is a historically terrible college football program. as they sit with an all-time record of 490, 691, and 31. I'm just going to leave it at that. I think that all-time record speaks for itself. Going back a couple of seasons before 2006, the one we're covering today, Wake Forest had actually been playing pretty good ball, for their standards at least. And by that I mean they were able to reach the 4-game win mark a couple of times, and crack the 5-win mark once, as they would go 5-7 in 2003, missing a bowl game, 4-7 in 2004, missing a bowl game of course, and much of the same in 2005, going 4-7, and not making the postseason for the 3rd straight season, which really makes what they did in 2006 kind of insane. When I tell you nobody thought this Wake Forest squad was going to make any noise this year, I mean it. One of the craziest teams I've ever covered was the 2024 Arizona State Sun Devils, who went from being predicted to finish last in their conference to winning their conference title. And I still have them at number 1 when it comes to the most craziest turnarounds in college football history, but this Wake Forest football team is definitely up there, as they were predicted to finish at the bottom of the Atlantic Division in the ACC, and expected to finish 11th out of 12 teams in the ACC as a whole, according to Stassin.com. Which pretty much means they had Wake Forest pegged as an easy gimme win in the ACC, but as all of my viewers should know by now, in most videos I make, the media who makes these preseason predictions are wrong more times than not. With that out of the way, let's actually take a look at some of the key players and figures a part of this 2006 Wake Forest football team who helped make the media eat their words. Leading the program in his 6th year up to that point at head coach, we have Jim Grobe, who had this program playing better than expected, especially on the defensive side of the ball, as Wake Forest would only allow 15.4 points per game, which was best for 12th in the nation. Now, this defense was definitely a strength of this team, the offense not so much, as the man under center quarterback Riley Skinner would only pass for just over 2,000 yards with 9 touchdowns. You would think with stats like that from your quarterback, the running back room was stacked, but that was not the case at all, as Wake Forest wouldn't have a single rusher go over 1,000 yards. The team's leading running back in attempts and yards was actually a wide receiver, named Kenneth Moore, rushing for 502 yards and 2 touchdowns. He'd also add 314 with another touchdown as a wideout. The team's actual leading receiver was Nate Morton, catching 38 passes for 617 yards. Out of all the videos I have made, this Wake Forest team has to have some of the worst player stats I have ever seen. Before we jump into the season, there are 2 studs on the defensive side of the ball I want to shout out. Starting with linebacker Aaron Curry, who was young during this season but would end up being a top 4 draft pick in 2009, and defensive back Josh Gaddis. He was a ball hawk for this team, picking off 5 passes. To open up the 2006 college football season, Wake Forest would begin the year with a matchup at home versus Syracuse Orange. Wake Forest would look like the better football team for most of the game, but the final score doesn't show that, as the Demon Deacons would only win 20-10, with this game being tight the whole way through. Wake Forest defense did their job and a whole lot more, holding the Orange to 10 points with only 136 yards of total offense. But on the flip side, their offense just couldn't finish drives and would look sloppy for majority of the game. If there was one bright side, it had to be that Wake Forest survived week 1, and usually the offense lags behind the defense early into the season, so hopefully things would pick up on that side of the ball in their next game. Their next game on the season would be a conference matchup against the Duke Blue Devils. And while their offense did look much better, mainly their dude under center, quarterback Riley Skinner, who'd passed for 235 and a touchdown, which is going to sound crazy, but those stats were legit the best he put up all season. And even with saying all of that, Wake Forest would find themselves down 10-0 at halftime. Their defense was getting ate up all first half, but they would lock in and flip the script in the second, holding Duke to 3 points. The offense responded to the defense stepping up their play by putting together 2 scoring drives to take the lead 14-13. Up by 1, Wake Forest would be tasked with stopping Duke, and while the Wake defense would bend, allowing Duke to drive the ball all the way to the Wake 28-yard line, when it came time to kick the field goal, special teams would come up clutch, blocking the kick to give the Demon Deacons the 14-13 win. Now sitting with a record of 2-0 in the season, I think at this point it was becoming clear that this team's identity was their stout defense. If Wake Forest was going to be successful this year, they were going to have to make games muddy, keep the score down, and rely on their solid D to bring them home. Man, when I tell you this defense was elite, I mean it. As Wake's next 3 non-conference games against UConn, Ole Miss, and Liberty, the most Wake Forest would give up would be 14 points, winning 24-13 against UConn, 27-3 against Ole Miss, and finally 34-14 against Liberty. The Wake Forest Demon Deacons were now sitting at 5-0, something that I don't think many experts or fans would have envisioned coming into the 2006 college football season. But now it was reality, and they deserved it, playing elite defense in their first 5 games of the season. Okay, so if there was any criticism levied at this 2006 Wake Forest football team several weeks into the season, it would have to be the teams that they were beating up on so far were not the heaviest of hitters. Which is true, but you can only play against the teams that are on your schedule, right? However, if Wake wanted to make some more noise and get the wider college football world keyed in on what was going over at the University of Wake Forest, their game coming up at home against the 15th ranked Clemson Tigers would be a good start. This wasn't the Clemson squads that we're all used to nowadays, but they were still a pretty decent ball club. Could Wake Forest pull off the upset in their first real test of the 2006 college football season?
We are just moments away from kickoff here in North Carolina. ESPN College Football presented by Cars.com. And about this gentleman, and he is just that, he's a gentleman, is that he can get blood out of a turnip now, and he's got some very good players this year to go along with his great coaching staff's ability. Clemson won the toss. They defer to the second half, so we'll see Wake on offense first. And this kick is going to be brought out from 5 yards deep. 15, 20, 25, 30 at the 40. Gets by the kicker. Got one man to beat at the 20, 15, and bumped out of bounds at the 5.
The start.
Same offensive set. Bryant, left side, fights his way to the 2. Now down to the 1. Is the ball loose? Everybody scrambling. Clemson says they have it, and they do. The Clemson Tigers. A tight end, 9th play of the drive. Started back at the 33. Faked it into the end zone. Touchdown, and that is Will.
Sophomore slump, and he's just avoided that completely.
Fumble. Wake has recovered at the 30.
On the field a little bit.
Well, they spread it out a little bit, but they go with a reverse, and it's going to be a pass. Got a man as he throws back to the quarterback, and it is a touchdown. Riley.
Today, only 2 of 8.
Short drop to throw. Ball is tipped at the line of scrimmage and intercepted. The officials say 1st and 10 Wake Forest. He picked. Got a good pass, and boy, they fumbled the snap. The ball picked up by Adams, and Gaines Adams is going to take it the distance, and what a play. The holder mishandled the snap and trying to get off the deck here and tie this ball game. Got a man open at the 1. Touchdown.
As well. Good finish there.
Spittle gets the handoff, goes to the right, has an opening. He's loose at midfield. Got one man that can catch him. That's Swanson, and he will not. 10, 5, touchdown Clemson.
4 down territory. Think about gaining yardage for a makeable 4th.
C.J. Gaddis with the interception. Takes it all the way across the field and then steps out of bounds.
And that he played wide receiver, went to Fort Union, and played defensive end, and the rest is history.
Pass right over the middle, thrown a little bit behind, but Idolette made the reception. And he's being pushed all the way back to the 40, and they've given him forward progress to the 45. Clock is at 9. It's down to 8.
Wake Forest straight up threw this game away. The Demon Deacons were in perfect position to pull off this upset, in large part thanks to their defense, who was on it early, shutting down this Clemson Tiger offense. Clemson couldn't get anything going in the first 3 quarters, only putting up 3 points and turning the ball over 4 times. The score would be Wake 17 to Clemson's 3 entering the 4th quarter. All the offense had to do was take care of the football and bleed some time off the clock and let their elite defense do the rest. If they would have done that, I'm almost 100% sure they would have won this football game. But instead, the offense would turn the ball over 3 times, as well as getting a field goal blocked and returned for a touchdown. The Wake Forest offense sold, there's no other way to put it, and as a result, the Demon Deacons would suffer their first loss of the season to Clemson 27-17. Losing is never fun, especially when you had the win served to you on a silver platter. This loss was going to sting, but if there was a bright side for the Demon Deacons, it would be that they got to stay in North Carolina for their next 2 football games. Now, they wouldn't be playing at home, as they would be on the road against North Carolina State and North Carolina, but at least they got to stay in their home state. Wake Forest needed a bounce back, and that's exactly what they would get, in large part once again due to their dynamic defense, taking down North Carolina State 25-23. Wake would go up early and their D would do the rest, not allowing the Wolfpack to take the lead at any point in the second half. Their game versus Tar Heels would be a little more tough, with Wake Forest being down by 3 going into the 4th quarter, but to their credit, the Demon Deacons offense would do something they hadn't done all season, and be clutch in the 4th, putting together a drive to get into field goal range, and then right after that, they'd get blessed with a turnover from their defense and capitalize by tossing a 39-yard bomb to seal the deal and win the game 24-17. The Demon Deacons have bounced back after that ugly loss to Clemson early in the season, now sitting with a record of 7-1 and a ranking at the 22nd spot in the country. Wake Forest was in a position to make a run at the ACC title, something they hadn't been able to do since 1970. With the way their defense had been playing all season, if their offense could just play a little bit better, this team might be able to make program history. Besides the offense needing to play a lot better, this Demon Deacon squad would also need to get a signature win against a ranked opponent. Because while being 7-1 is very impressive, a big reason why they were only ranked 22nd in the country, being a Power 5 team, was because who would they really be in? The one ranked game they played, they blowed in spectacular fashion. In the way their schedule's set up, they might not get too many shots against ranked opponents. Well, there was one team ranked coming up on their schedule, and that was the Matt Ryan-led 16th ranked 7-1 Boston College Eagles squad. This was going to be a season-defining game for the Demon Deacons. Wake Forest sold when they had a chance to make a statement to the college football world against Clemson. Would they be able to secure the win this time around?
Tonight from the Atlantic Coast Conference, the Boston College Eagles, number 16 in the nation, in town to take on the Demon Deacons of Wake Forest, who are ranked number 22 from Grove Stadium.
Kicking the ball on PATs and field goals.
Moore, one of the deep men, along with Marion. Unger with the kick. This one is returnable. High spinner taken at the 9-yard line by Marion to the right. 25-30, 35-40, one man to beat, and he will be got his attention. Reversed, and left, 5, touchdown. Plenty quick enough to understand what you do in those kind of situations. Got the pass, got it at the 10, at the 5 is Challenger. 2 yards away. Play action. Back to the end zone, touchdown, and it's the tight end. On first down, stepping up to throw, got a man wide open at the 10, 5, touchdown, Nate. Need to take it to the 17-yard line. That's the line to make. Blitz coming off the corner, throws it to the opposite side, and that one is intercepted in the end zone, and it's Josh Gaddis. Scrimmage, the 27.5-yard line, and they need 10 yards. Ryan over the middle, got it complete and spinning down, and he didn't get it. Challenger got spun to the ground on that fourth down play. They fake the double reverse and up the near sideline. That's Marion, and Marion is loose. 40, 30, can they catch it? Not this time, and it's a distance jaunt of 81 yards. Touchdown Wake Forest. 5 yards to get the first down. Retreating to throw, now stepping up into the pocket, and got a man wide open at the 10-yard line, and the catch 2 yards away. Fourth down. He's going to keep it. Fake the run, took it into the end zone himself, and touchdown Boston College. Their own 18. 9th play of the drive. Steps up, goes for the end zone, got a man down there, and it's just a little too far. Good pass. Kick is on the way. He's got an upstreak, yes, and it's no good. Under 5 minutes to play. They go with a running play. Woodward turns it upfield, has 5, has 10, fumbles the football, and the scramble for it. Wake says they have it, and they do. BC takes the snap from the 25, pumped it once, goes for the end zone, got a guy there, and it is intercepted by Wake Forest, and that's Patrick G.
I don't know if it's just me, but rewatching Boston College vs. Wake Forest gave me heavy nostalgic vibes. There's just something about the sounds and the way the scoreboard looks that takes me back to my childhood, when I first started getting into college football. It was a real treat. I really do love going back and taking a look at some of the more older teams. Which 2006 isn't that old, but we're almost coming up on this team's 20-year anniversary, so... Okay, anyway, sorry for boring you with my childhood memories. Let's get back to Boston College vs. Wake Forest. The Demon Deacons would get the huge win over Matt Ryan and the 16th ranked Eagles 21-14. Boston College was able to move the ball all game between the 20s, totaling 430 yards of offense, with 402 of them coming from Matt Ryan, who threw 57 passes this game. Yes, they were able to move the pill like a drug dealer, but whenever they were threatening to do real damage by putting some points on the board, this Wake Forest defense would buck up, pick it off Matt Ryan twice, deep on their side of the field. They came up big whenever they needed to. And on the other side of the ball, the offense would do just enough. They didn't play spectacular or anything, but when you have a defense as good as theirs, sometimes doing just enough is all you need to do. And that's what they do, totaling only 280 yards of offense. One thing they did do well was not commit stupid penalties, giving up only 20 yards in penalties to Boston College's 70. You know your offense is mid when amateur lore is bringing up penalty yards. 8-1 on the season, Wake Forest was due for an absolute offensive explosion. I know for most of this section I've really been trashing on this Wake Forest O, but I have good news. In their next game against the preseason ACC favorites, by the way, Florida State Seminoles, on the road Wake Forest would walk into the Doak and play football like they were the Blue Bloods, winning 30-0. Quarterback Riley Skinner really lit up the Noles defense. Well, at least for his standards, passing for 138 yards with 1 touchdown. The offense as a whole would total 307 yards, while on the flip side, this elite defense would hold Florida State to 139 yards of offense as well as forcing 4 turnovers. Wake Forest couldn't have asked for a better performance after their big win over Boston College, and would extend their winning streak to 4 games and even crack the top 15 for the first time since 1979, sitting at the 14th spot in the latest polls. The Wake Forest football program was at an all-time high, on the brink of accomplishing something only done once before in program history, winning the ACC title. There were only 2 more games left on the Demon Deacons schedule versus 19th ranked Virginia Tech and Maryland. Wake would have to split these 2 games and win at least one of them if they wanted to get to tango with Georgia Tech in the ACC title game. I don't have the Maryland highlights, so I won't be showing that game, but thankfully some college football superfans saved the highlights of the Virginia Tech vs. Wake game. So could 14th ranked Wake Forest continue the winning streak and take down Virginia Tech, or would it all come down to that Maryland game to see if they made the title?
Play action. Sets to throw, but a man breaking open, and the ball is caught. 25. That's Royal down the sideline, and he will. Good pass and hold. Plenty of distance on this one. And Wake is on the board. It's Wheeler in motion. Pass comes near sideline, though, and it is caught. Morgan breaks a tackle at the 15, 10, 5, touchdown. For Rutgers right now up into Queen City. Skinner, pressure from the backside, gets it out there, has a man open at the 20, and Morton will take it in. They're covered with people who can get it right back to him. He nails it right down Broadway on that first down. On first down, they throw the screen. He gets it again, puts a head down, and is tackled at the 34. They say the ball is alive. It has been picked up by Virginia Tech, and that is a touchdown. Of the back, it's Belton, the fullback. And that's who they give it to him. Whoa, I don't know. Boy, he got smacked hard by Booker and pushed back. Now the ball is loose, and Virginia Tech has picked it up. A veteran coach like Frank Beamer, as the pressure comes, and this one is just thrown away. I think he knew full well that to come in here with the momentum that this Wake club has had, Ed, and to come in here is like a prize fight. Get a good shot early, and they did when they scored.
Wake Forest would play one of their worst games of the 2006 college football season, losing to the Virginia Tech Hokies 27-6. And while yes, this loss was ugly, like I mentioned earlier, Wake Forest just needed to split those two games between the Hokies and Terps to make the ACC title game. So with losing to Virginia Tech, obviously Wake was going to have to take down Maryland on the road or risk ruining this historical season. The Demon Deacons would travel to Maryland and play one of their best games of the year. And guess what? It wasn't the defense that carried the ball club this game. It was actually the offense, who would go off for 421 yards and a huge 38-24 win. Those 38 points Wake dropped would be the most they scored in a game all season. And they chose the right time to erupt, as this win would clinch them a spot in the ACC title game, where they would be matching up against the 23rd ranked Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. Here we were. Everything the Wake Forest Demon Deacons had worked for all season was coming down to this. A game in Jacksonville, Florida versus 23rd ranked Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets to decide who gets to play Louisville in the Orange Bowl. Wake Forest had an amazing season, no doubt. Winning 10 games, making it to the ACC title game, all of that is an amazing accomplishment, especially when you consider that they were picked to place dead last in the ACC this year. But at this point in the season, the Deacs hadn't come this far to finish just short. Could the 2006 Wake Forest Demon Deacons team do the unthinkable and win the ACC title game?
We'll see how he performs here this afternoon. Georgia Tech won the toss, and they'll receive. That might be the first time we've seen that all season long, and that's Jamal Evans waiting for Georgia Tech. Sam Swack's got it teed up for the Demon Deacons of Wake Forest, and the ACC championship game is underway. Line drive kick, Jamal Evans will take it to 7. Evans trying to cut it outside, and nice job on the tap down and goal. Ball drops to throw. Fires over the outstretched arms of Calvin Johnson. He didn't give him a chance. A tight angle from the right hash, and Travis Bell knocks it in. Skinner gives it off to his fullback. And Belton looks like he's got the first down. Wake Forest, 3rd and goal. Skinner fires to the corner. He's got his man. From the right hash. And the kick is up and good. Champions, that's what it is. 3rd down and 6. Reggie Ball pump fake. And now deep down the sideline again. Calvin Johnson makes the catch. Yarder maybe of his life. To try to put Georgia Tech in front. Bell, the kick on the way. And he's got it. Georgia in. Or maybe more. Skinner pressured. Double pumps and throws complete. Tarashinsky is tight end down the sideline. 1:33 to try to tie the game. Schwank got it right down Main Street. Now under 5.5 minutes. 2nd down. Skinner waiting, and now going deep. He's got a man out there at Idolette. And he's got it. Bob called it. It's left in the ball game. Schwank, kick on the way and perfect. Wake 2 downs to try to get it. Ball back to throw. Flushed from the pocket and in trouble. And now really in trouble. And that's about the last thing. Joel O'Brien, all 245 of them, is the tailback. They fake it to him. They give it an idlet on the end around. First down, ball game, Wake Forest, right there. Joe Anawayo bring him down. It won't matter. And now the celebration can begin on the Wake Forest sideline.
Notice how he stayed in bounds.
The Wake Forest Demon Deacons would pull off the unthinkable, defeating Georgia Tech in the ACC Championship game 9-6 to claim only their second ACC title in program history, as well as winning the most games in program history at 11. Which I didn't mention this earlier, but their most wins in a single season before 2006 was 8, which came all the way back in 1992. Wake's win over the 23rd ranked Yellow Jackets would bring their record on the season to 11-2, and their rankings would climb up to the 15th spot in the country. 2006 had already been a historical season for the Wake Forest Demon Deacons. They won the ACC title, broke their single season win record by 3 games, and had secured a spot in the Orange Bowl against the 5th ranked Louisville Cardinals. For all intents and purposes, this season had already been a huge success. From worst to first, that is what best sums up this year from Wake Forest. Still though, capping off this season with the win in the Orange Bowl would be an amazing way to end the 2006 college football season for the Deeks. This game wasn't going to be easy. Louisville was 11-1 on the season and one of the better teams in college football this year. Could Wake finish this already historical season off with a bang?
And you're really down here at the bottom of the screen. They haven't used any double moves yet.
They swing it out to Patrick Carter, looking to throw the football. He's got a wide open receiver. Touchdown Cardinals. Field with Skinner. They reset Zach Selman before the snap. Skinner buying some time. A wide open Nate Morton. Touchdown Demon Deacon.
That's if you're playing defense for Wake.
It's Allen back there now. Allen, the ball carrier, stopped shy of the goal line. No, on second look, they signal touchdown. Lip card in front of their mouth to prevent the lip readers from doing their jobs. Oh my goodness. It's the big fullback, Brock Bolin. It's minutes left on the game clock. 3rd and 6. Skinner hangs in. He had a receiver. It's intercepted by William Gay. They tried to get it for top 5 ranking in the polls. Skinner's pass is caught on the sideline by John Tereshinski. He wants a flag. He wants some help on the sideline. They're not stopping yet. Wake wants to keep going. But that's going to do it tonight. Congratulations to Bobby Petrino and the Louisville Cardinals. Winners in the 70s.